Good morning. Happy Thursday to everybody out there in YouTube land. Well, it's another observations of an American living in Germany. Just more random thoughts. It's been a while since I put out a video, so I'm just going to try to roll through this one. I may have mentioned some of these topics before. I'm having a senior moment. Maybe I mentioned it, maybe I didn't. But nonetheless, recently I went out to eat, as I do so often, every now and then, once or twice a week. But when you go to a restaurant here, they they don't give you water like they do at an American restaurant. There's nothing wrong with the water here; it's just as good as in the States. But it's a way they can make money. You have to order a bottle of spring water or a bottle of still water. Generally, when I go to restaurants, I'll order a glass of wine or a beer, and sometimes maybe a soda pop. And if they do bring you out a bottle of beer, though, a lot of times they'll bring you a glass with it. If you order a bottle of water, they'll bring you a glass to pour it. And if you order a soda pop, they'll usually bring you out a glass, uh, almost never with ice cubes. I still can't get over that, but they will give you the bottle of soda, and then you can pour it in there and drink it as you see fit. And I was told by somebody before that the Germans don't like ice in their soda because they'd be being cheated. They might not get the full 12 ounces or whatever the amount of milliliters, 355 milliliters or 500 milliliters, whatever the bottle is. That if you get the bottle, you're getting your money's worth. It's different in the US because most restaurants give you unlimited free refills on tea and cola. So it doesn't matter if it's watered down, but it's a little different here. But you get used to it. It is what it is. Um, Also, when you're at a restaurant here and you pay by credit card, it's not like in the States where they take the credit card in the kitchen and then come back. They do it, they bring this little, it's like a credit card machine. It works on Bluetooth or Wi Fi. They bring it out to you and they do your credit card right in front of you. And if you want to add a tip to your charge card, you have to tell them ahead of time, hey, put €5 on for yourself. And then they print it off. Or I typically will give the tip in cash. I'll run the credit card and give the tip in cash. It depends on how much money I have with me. And not all restaurants here do take credit cards. A lot of them don't. So when you dine out in Germany, make sure you have some euros with you. But anyway, when you drive here, it's much, much nicer than in the United States in so many ways. City driving can be a little hectic here because everything's so cramped in together. But highway driving is much nicer. And in many parts of Germany, a lot of times they don't have stop signs. They have yield signs, which make more sense. If nobody's coming, you go. They do have some stop signs, just not that many. Roundabouts are very common, and Germans have mastered roundabouts. They started putting them in the United States before we came over here, and Americans just didn't know what they were doing with them. But Germans have the roundabout mastered. When you come into a roundabout, the people already in the circle have the right of way. And when you leave a roundabout, you're supposed to use your right hand blinker to show that you're getting off. And then that way, somebody at the next, usually they have three or four different streets coming together. So the people in the next one waiting to get in the roundabout will see your blinker and know you're getting out of it. It's just a courtesy thing. I guess you don't have to do it, but I've picked up the habit of doing it, and most other people will use their indicator. It just lets other people know what's going on. But overall, Germans are much, much better drivers. When you're in the city and there's a lot of congestion and the person on the side street does not have a yield sign and you don't get that priority road symbol, the person to your right has the right of way. It's considered an unregulated intersection. So you have to really be careful, especially if there's cars parked close to the edge, because people will come straight out from the right. And if they hit you, the police are probably going to find you at fault. So the person on the right is supposed to have the right of way, even if that person is on a bicycle. You have to really be careful for that. And likewise, if you're on a bike and somebody's coming from the right on a car and neither of you has the yield sign, that person will have the right of way. So it takes a little bit of extra planning. There's also no right turn on red here unless there's an arrow that tells you that you may. It'll either be a solid green arrow that lights up, or sometimes they'll have a little green sign with a green or a black sign with a green arrow painted on it. That means you can make a right turn on red after a stop if nobody's coming. It's opposite of the United States. In the States, you can make a right turn on red unless it says you can't. But here, you can't unless it says you can. And after you're here for a while, you'll figure it out that it's mainly because of pedestrian crosswalks and people in the other direction having a protected signal. But the Germans have figured it out. It works for them. When you buy gasoline here, I have never seen a place where you pay at the pump. Never. Maybe they have them. I've never seen one. We always have to buy ESSO because we get the discount, the military discount on fuel. But you pull up and you pump the gasoline in your car, and then you go inside and pay. So, and here there are different grades of gasoline. Their regular is called Super 95, and you can find it in ethanol free, 5% ethanol, and 10% ethanol. I found all three of them before. The 10% ethanol is probably the cheapest, but maybe your gas mileage might be a little less as well. Usually I use the Super 95 E5, 5% ethanol, but I've used the 10% with no problem either. It's about 5 cents cheaper. Then they have Super 98. The Super 95 is the same as 90 octane in the States. The Super 98 is the same as 93 octane in the United States. They use a different measure of how to calculate octane. They don't sell the 87 unleaded that they have in the United States. That would be 92 octane here, and they just don't sell it. A lot of German cars have small four-cylinder engines. They're turbocharged, and they have a higher compression ratio to be able to accelerate and sustain high speeds on the Autobahn. So the German government many years ago increased the quality of the fuel they have to sell. I do believe there are two grades of diesel fuel here. I believe one of them is B7, which means 7% of it comes from biodiesel. I don't have a diesel vehicle. I drove them in the States, but apparently the laws for fuel quality over here are different for diesels. But I don't have one, so I don't know the difference in the grades of fuel. There's a station called Aral, A-R-A-L. It's blue and white. They have 102 octane, Super 102, which would be like 97 octane in the States. That's probably for somebody who has a McLaren or something like that. That's ungodly expensive, but if you can afford a McLaren, you can afford to pay $8 a gallon for racing fuel. But I've never seen it at Esso. But our Mazda just runs on the Super 95. We're fine. We're good to go. The fastest I've had it is 160 kilometers on the Autobahn, which is about 102, something like that. It could probably go faster than that, but I didn't. It's an SUV. It's not made for that. But I typically drive, when it's unrestricted, I drive about 140 kilometers, which is 86 miles an hour. And I pretty much stay out of the left lane unless I'm passing, which is the law here. But people will fly by me like I'm sitting still. You'll see a big black BMW come hauling ass. But the German Autobahn is much safer than the American interstate, even though people drive a lot faster. Germans tend to view driving as a form of art, like fine horsemanship. Americans, for the most part, just use driving as a way to get from point A to point B, and they don't give a damn how well or how poorly they do it. It's sad, but I think the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit from 1974 dumbed down the American driving culture and etiquette so far that we still haven't recovered from it. People will get out in the left lane and plant themselves. When I go to the store, they have what's called a VAT tax, value-added tax. If we buy something expensive, we submit a form and we get that rebated to us. It's something that we get because we're here with the status of forces agreement. I believe that it's not fair for us to pay taxes in both countries because we still pay taxes in the United States. We also don't vote in Germany. We don't participate in the German healthcare system, the German pension plan, the German welfare system, and we don't have kids in German schools. So I guess it's a bone they throw to us. Just like the discounted fuel, we end up paying about $4.20 to $4.40 a gallon, and the price on the economy is about $6.80 to $7 a gallon, roughly converting from liters to gallons and euros to dollars. And they do sell gasoline by the liter. So if you see something that says $1.82, that's not $1.82 for a gallon. That's a liter. And there's 3.8 liters in a gallon. And the prices are also in euros. But when we use our debit card, our SO debit card from AFES, it automatically converts the amount. German grocery stores are pretty good. One of my favorite is Globus. It's kind of, imagine Walmart and Costco had a child, and then that child hooked up with a Total Wine liquor store. It's just amazing. They've got just about everything in there. It's like a Walmart supercenter, but it's a lot cleaner. And when you buy things at a German store, when you buy bottles, you typically, and a lot of canned drinks, you have to pay you have to pay a fond on it, PFAND. It's basically a deposit. And it's like 8 cents for a beer bottle and maybe 25 cents for a 1 liter bottle of pop. And you pay that. And then when you take the bottles back to the store, they have a thing called a Leergut, Leergut. That's what it says on the machine. And you put your bottles in there for recycling, and then it gives you a printout of whatever you bring back. And then you get that deducted at the register. And I found that when I buy a case of beer, they come in a 20 bottles, 20 half-liter bottles. Pilsner Urquell is one of my favorites. I'll pay for the whole rack that it comes in and the 20 bottles. And then after I drink them, I just put them back in the rack. And when it's full, I take them back, change it out. It's a pain, but I think they say it's for recycling, but I think it's probably to keep people from littering, because you just don't see litter along German highways like you do in the United States. So I got to give it to the Germans. They got that one right. Their highways are also better constructed. You do have a lot of construction going on, and they seem to work very slowly when they fix roads. They don't work at night. They don't seem to work on weekends. But I'll tell you what, they do keep their highways up very, very nicely compared to in the United States, where, some of our highways look like a runway in Baghdad that suffered a bombing run. But the Autobahn overall is very nice. I've noticed that now that it's getting into June, Germany, our part of Germany is at 50.5 degrees latitude. So we're between Nova Scotia and Newfoundland, and somewhere around Prince Edward Island, that's how far north we are. And I've noticed that in the morning, by 5 a.m., the sun's coming up, and it doesn't get dark till 10 o'clock at night. So it doesn't get very, very hot here, but the days are so long and you get so much sunlight that you have to be very creative with using your rollades. Rollades are sort of like electric shutters. It's like an overhead door that goes up and down, and you can adjust how much light comes into the apartment and how much ventilation you want. You can open it part way, and there'll be little holes in it that doesn't let much light through, but it lets the breeze blow through. And we have floor-to-ceiling windows, and we are on the top floor. So it does get right warm in here. I did buy 2 portable air conditioner units, but I have not had to use them yet. And it does get cooler here at night. It's not the humid, soupy swill like you get in the southern United States, where it's 86 degrees at 3 in the morning with 65% humidity. It hasn't been that bad, but it does get hot, and circulation of the air can be a problem. So we got here the end of summer last year. We had 2 pedestal fans, and that helped a lot, but this will be the first full summer I've been here. So far, it hasn't been bad. The highest day we had was 83 degrees. And as long as you keep the windows open, it's not bad in here at all. I know that pertaining to food, when I've gone to McDonald's here, the French fries are just as good as in the States, but the chicken nuggets are, I don't want to say they're bland, but they don't have the same amount of flavor, and it's probably because they don't have a lot of the bad stuff in them. The tomato ketchup here is pure tomato ketchup, but doesn't have all these emulsifiers and preservatives in it like they do in the United States. If you buy soda here, they use real cane sugar. If you buy Coca-Cola in a German store, it's made from real cane sugar. The stuff in the United States is high fructose corn syrup, and they add a lot of other bad stuff into it. And the real cane sugar cola, it actually tastes better. It's the same. It's very similar to the Mexican Coca-Cola that you could get at Costco in the United States. It comes in I think they're 8-ounce glass bottles. They're smaller bottles, but they're made in, it's Mexican Coca-Cola, and that stuff is pretty good. It costs a little more, but it's pretty good. I'm trying to think what else is on my mind lately. Yes, when you're going down the road, there are crosswalks, and they usually all have a little blue sign ahead of it. But when there's crosswalks, pedestrians have the right of way. You have to be careful because a lot of people here will assume that you know that, and they'll just step right out in front of you. So just be advised, slow down, and they do have speed cameras. They have, some of them look like a barber pole, and they're very easily recognized. Other ones might look like a birdhouse on a tree, and they will send you a picture of your car. So far, since being here last August, I've gotten one ticket in a construction zone in the Autobahn. No points, but I had to pay a fine. My wife she got two. She got one in Wiesbaden, and she got another one when we were driving through Switzerland. So it's just a cost of doing business. And from what I understand, I could be wrong, correct me in the comments if I am, but you don't get any points on your license unless you're 20 kilometers over. So, which would be about 13 miles an hour over. So you do have to be wary of that. They do, some of them, they actually warn you ahead of time and it says, speed camera up ahead. Sometimes they don't warn you. And sometimes they will put these portable ones up. They'll just park a gray van alongside the road and it'll have tinted windows in the back and they've got radar guns and cameras inside there. And they move them around from place to place. So, it's a rumor that Germany doesn't have speed limits, and that's not true. They do. They do. And they also have red light cameras, too. There's certain areas where if you run a red light, you'll get nailed. Driving through Wiesbaden, there are times when the speed limit in a city, unless it's posted otherwise, is 50 kilometers. But you almost have to go 55 if you want to hit them green. So sometimes the timing of the light is not conducive with the speed limit. I know that's a problem in the United States. I haven't really noticed it much here unless traffic is light and you can go a little bit faster to get through them. But sometimes people in front of you will drive too slowly and then they'll make it through the light and then you get stopped. And before a traffic light turns green here, it'll turn red and yellow at the same time. In other words, that's like on your mark, get set, go. And when that thing turns green, your butt better be moving or somebody's probably going to honk the horn at you. I haven't seen a whole lot of road rage here in Germany. You don't hear horns that much, but you do catch it sometimes. There are some people who I've seen them raging with each other going down the road, but it's not nearly as bad as it is in the United States. Plus, people here don't have guns either, so maybe that makes people feel a little bit more orderly. I have no idea. But overall, Germans have figured out how to merge. Sometimes there will be two lanes merging into one, and people don't go all the way up to the end and force their way over like in the United States. They do it like a zipper. You just take turns. If you're coming on the highway, it's at a dead stop, somebody will let you in, and then another car behind you will go, and then the guy behind him will usually let the other guy in. So it generally works. There's one area where the Autobahn on A66, the bridge was falling apart, so they had to redo it. They have one span almost finished now. They're finishing the second one in 2024. So by November of 2024, A66 is supposed to be open from Frankfurt all the way to Rudesheim. And that will alleviate some of the traffic here. But anyway, I'm sorry this video went on a long time, but it's been a while since I put one out. Anyway, you folks be safe out there. Auf Wiedersehen. Tschüss.